Rot, Ratsch, Ratsch, Ratsch. Wie viele Wörter hast du bisher schon gelernt?
1500 Wörter.
Lass uns sprechen.
Ich habe ein Gedicht verfasst. Lom, Gatrundariach, Fab.
Es hat mir sehr gefallen, Herr Hauptschirmführer.
Sag Klaus zu mir.
Würde ihn ja einfach umbringen.
Und was ist, wenn er abhaut?
Nee, das hat noch keiner geschafft.
Wo ist der?
Gefangener Resatun! An seiner Stelle warst du bereit, mit diesem Haufen Namenloser zu sterben?
Sie sind nur namenlos, weil du ihren Namen nicht kennst. Aber sie sind kein bisschen schlechter als du. Wenn nicht, so sind sie keine Mörder.
Ich bin kein Mörder.
Du sorgst dafür, dass die Mörder gut speisen.
So I'm Oxford Lamoureaux from the 13th floor. I'm here with Vadim Perelman talking about Persian Lessons, which is a film that's coming out in New Zealand this week, I believe. All going well with our COVID kind of lockdown restrictions at the moment. So welcome, Vadim.
How is it going?
It's going good. It's going good. We're adapting. You know, there's. I was talking briefly the other day about how COVID itself has created this new flux of filmmaking and innovative filmmaking, and it's kind of taking us in two ways, from people pushing boundaries to people having time to explore these kind of more, I guess, personal projects, which is a little bit what I wanted to have a chat with you about today. So we're talking about Persian projects, Persian lessons. Sorry. So tell me a little bit about your experience in getting involved with the film to begin with.
Well, the script was given to me by a friend who's a director and also a producer, Timur Bekmambetov in Moscow. Mm-hmm. And he kind of shared his work, his past and possible potential projects with me. And I really took to that one. And then we tried to get it up off the ground, and other people got involved, other producers, and thankfully and luckily it worked out. So
how long was the process from start to finish?
The process was over a year, but right. Once the money got triggered, we went pretty quickly.
Yeah, you jumped into it, right? And so I hear you're very selective about the projects that you like to choose, you like to work with. Yes. Is there anything? So obviously, House of Sand and Fog
provides me from being rich.
I would say it was, yeah. As an author for much of my early writing career as well, I settled with cheap bread but a lot of love. So what was it? This was also partly inspired by a short story. And so what was it? Was there anything particular? What do you look for in these projects that you get a kind of emotional, personal connection with?
Well, you just said it. Yeah, the emotional, personal connection. You know, it's quite important to have that it's just not that I'm not just making entertainment, because in order to make a good film, for me, I can't speak for everyone.
No,
but for me, it's to not only have the emotional effect on you from say a book or from a script or whatever the material is, but to be confident and to be sure, reasonably sure, that you can translate that and transfer it to the public. So my emotional mind is to get how I feel, to put it plainly, and make them feel that. Yeah. So, and that's essentially how I make my choice. You know,
that resonates with me very heavily in the writing that I try to do as well. Mine's it's a very empathic way of writing, where I'm trying to have people vicariously live through that. And it's interesting because so two of the things was World War II films in themselves. I was asking today, I was like, is there a relevancy still? I mean, I have a connection closely with that through my grandfather, but so is there an immediate connection now with the public in that time period? But it also goes to kind of to what you were saying, in that it's these very tense, heavy emotional experiences which do resonate across all languages as well, I think, as well, and film does that very beautifatly.
There are many languages in it.
Yeah, well, that's one, and that was one of the. I heard that you created a 600-word dictionary.
Yeah, I created a very rudimentary, created a language. That is functional, at least, or so it's shown in the film.
Yeah.
But to get back to the previous point, I think it's not just how you make them feel. I don't want to teach them anything. And it's not my job as a filmmaker. There are filmmakers, documentary filmmakers, and authors and whatever that need to educate.
Right.
I don't need to educate. I don't want to educate. To me, that's not the issue. They can educate themselves and make their choices, their cerebral choices about what's happening.
Right.
For me, it's to make them feel, and therefore, in this case, to have that not happen again. Basically, what's
right.
happening is for me, it's because I think we're kind of all capable of it as humans. To have that repeat, and history has proven that it does repeat. The injustice of war, the injustice of genocide, the injustice of even personal prejudices and so on. So for me, it's that's what my goal is, and to have another war film. As you said, or in this case, I think it's more of a Holocaust film, as it's become its own genre in the years. It's the more we say it, the better. I think the more we see of it, the better. And now, 20 years from now, 100 years from now, it doesn't matter.
Well, I think that's the thing. So yeah, so it was so World War II as a set period piece. I was talking about 1917 as an example of that. The brutality and the rawness of that particular period was, it needed to be done with that. And this, it feels very, there's no mobile phones, there's no distractions from this, and it's a beautifully paced film as well, and it does highlight those atrocities that the cruelty, how easy it is to be cruel. And so there was a particular, there are lots of moments, and you see that, especially there was a part at lunch where there's a scene with bread in particular, which was quite harrowing, just in the casual callousness of that. And I think that we're quite, I feel as a viewer of this kind of cinema that we're quite numb now to violence around the world, that it's easier for us to kind of feel that these kind of things can happen. So when we see things like this, which do highlight that in a very confronting way and an emotional way, it is, like you say, it's very beautiful that it encourages, not to embrace the cruelty and not to allow that and to be a bypasser for that. And so with that, do you feel do you get closer with that each time that you create these pieces of cinema, that you're accomplishing that in the Yeah,
hopefully, hopefully. I mean, that's the goal. But it's more than a geopolitical thing. For me, it's a personal issue too, because by showing, and this was a tough choice in this case, by showing the Nazis, the SS officers, as I would dare to say almost human, which is very rarely done in those films and books and all that. They're always shown as robots, kill, rouse, just.
I think dualism is very important to address. That good people do terrible things, and that bad people are. There's a big gray area. But please,
continue. The Hannah Arendt banality of evil. It's to me, and I've always imagined, like, how did these guys in Auschwitz, let's say. How do they get up in the morning? And they quite often live there with their families in the little outskirts of the camp.
Yeah.
They get up in their morning, they take their shower, whatever they do. They put on their Hugo Boss uniform, and the wife comes over and brushes the lint off the shoulder and says, "Have a good day at work, honey. When are you going to be back?" And I'm sure she knows what he's doing. And he knows what he's doing, and yet he somehow manages to keep up this normalcy of his life and to go out and kill thousands of people. It's incomprehensible to me. And so this film is kind of maybe not quite as a direct way, but it's a way for me to explore that.
It's also, just as you said, that you can have these functioning normal relationships. You can have love between two people existing in this nightmarish scenario. It's a very confronting film. It's very beautiful. It's gorgeously shot as well. Your cinematographer that you worked with, it's the lighting and everything of it is beautiful there. Yeah, so I find I find there isn't enough cinema that just challenges you to sit and absorb it nowadays, and this is definitely one of those pieces. It's paced beautifully, it looks beautifully, it's the tension is very well done, and yes, I'm looking forward to seeing what we get as a public reaction here, and from it. And so what's next for you?
There's still a few projects, still being picky, and but there's I want to do a film about the adoption. It's something that I'm interested in now. The topic about, how Americans or Westerns came to Russia to adopt kids.
Okay.
And then at some point, they quite often did it in very good, they were good people. They wanted the people to adopt the kids. And at some point, the Russian government outlawed it and stopped it. It's called the Dima Yakovlev law. And the opportunities for these kids were completely lost, and they were basically abandoned in these not in very good conditions in these orphanages and so on. So like a personal film about that, not about that, but about the people. This is what the distinction is that I don't make a film about policy or politics. So it's really about the people.
Yeah, perhaps I'm wrong, there's not a theme of kind of fractured placement in people, and also kind of fractured people as a result of that, their environment. It's it's always the classic, it's cliche, but the Hemingway line of the world breaks everyone. It's one of those, the broken people I find more interesting in the films about those broken situations as well, especially the beauty and the strength we find in it. So well, wonderful. Thank you very much for your time today. It was excellent speaking to you, and I look forward to catching it out on the cinema. So hopefully soon when we can get some breath of fresh air. Is there anything else that you want to
out there?
Anything you want to throw at us before we sign off?
No, it's I love your country.
Fantastic. Well, you'll please come and visit us soon. All right,
I've been there.